There are certain films that arrive with massive expectations, and The Bride is absolutely one of them. Directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal, starring Christian Bale and Jessie Buckley, and inspired by one of the most iconic literary works ever written, namely Frankenstein, this film had all the ingredients to be something truly special. And honestly, I was excited. A visionary director and famous actress coming off a critically acclaimed debut, a powerhouse cast, and a fresh perspective on a story we all think we know. But sometimes, even when a film gets so much right, it doesn't quite connect the way you expect. The Bride draws inspiration from The Bride of Frankenstein, but this isn't just a remake, this is a reinterpretation. Set in a stylized 1930s world, the film shifts focus entirely onto the bride, giving her agency, identity, and a voice in a story where she traditionally has been defined by others. And right from the opening, Jessie Buckley playing both the bride and Mary Shelley sets the tone. It's theatrical, it's bold, and it's telling you up front, this is not a traditional Frankenstein story. The journey of the bride is almost as interesting as the film itself. Originally, this was a Netflix project, but creative disagreements, particularly around filming locations, caused a major shift. Gyllenhaal wanted authenticity, pushing for a New York shoot, while Netflix preferred a more cost-effective option. Eventually, Warner Brothers Pictures stepped in, backing the director's vision and allowing the project to move forward. And that decision matters because this feels like a film where the director was given real creative freedom. You can see it almost in every frame. Filming then would take place in New York City, with cinematographer Lawrence Sher using IMAX-certified digital cameras. The film constantly shifts between aspect ratios, from widescreen cinematic framing to towering IMAX visuals, which gives certain moments an almost epic, operatic feel. Visually, this film is stunning. There are clear inspirations from Metropolis. You can see it in the design, the lighting, the industrial aesthetic. It's gothic, it's artistic, and it's very deliberate. But again, that same artistic ambition can also make it feel distant at times. Now let's talk about the cast, because this is where the film absolutely shines. Jessie Buckley is phenomenal. You couldn't get a more contrasting role from her Oscar-winning performance in Hamnet. Here, once again, she proves her absolute versatility. There seems to be no role that she cannot take on. She brings so much depth, emotion, and unpredictability to the bride. You believe every moment, whether she's vulnerable, defiant, or even discovering herself. Her chemistry here with Christian Bale is one of the film's strongest elements, and Bale, returning to live action after several years, is excellent. His portrayal of the creature, referred to as Frank, is deeply human. There's pain, confusion, and longing in his performance that really grounds the film. Then you've even got Annette Bening, who delivers a commanding performance, and to boot, strong supporting roles from Jake Gyllenhaal, of course Maggie's brother, and Peter Sarsgaard, Maggie's husband. But I do have to highlight one weak point, Penélope Cruz. She's a fantastic actress, but here her character just feels unnecessary. It doesn't add much to the story, and at times it feels like she exists purely to reinforce the film's themes rather than develop them organically. She's obviously been cast in the female empowerment role, and I just found it somewhat unnecessary when adding to the narrative. Now, there is so much to like in this film. I personally loved the concept. I loved the originality. Even though it's a tried and tested story, Gyllenhaal tries to reinterpret it with new eyes and providing a new foundation. And I loved seeing the story now told from the bride's perspective. Visually, like I said, it's impressive, stylish, creative, and artistic. The performances here are fantastic, and there are some genuinely great moments here. But it also feels like a film that maybe is a little too auteur for its own good. It's a film marketed as a commercial piece, but really is almost like an art house classic. And that's I kind of think where this film struggles. At times it feels like the film is more focused on making a statement and telling the story as clearly as it could. That's not necessarily always a bad thing, but it does make it harder for general audiences to connect with. The film clearly wants to explore identity, autonomy, and independence. The idea that she's not just the bride of Frankenstein, she's now just the bride, well, that's powerful on its own, and of course I fully respect that. But there are moments when the film tends to lean heavily into messaging and almost feels like it's preaching. Again, it's not overwhelming, but it is noticeable. Gyllenhaal clearly is approaching the project with the idea of female empowerment. Now, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, but then maybe this is not the subject choice to get that message across. At the end of the day, this is a fantasy. It's pure escapism. Now, focusing on the bride character is clever and original, but then when do you draw the line between entertainment and message? And unfortunately, I think for some viewers, they might take away that messaging from the overall experience rather than being entertained. Despite its issues, there are moments in the film that are genuinely brilliant. One of the highlights is the homage to young Frankenstein with the putting on the Ritz scene. It's unexpected, slightly absurd, and completely works. There are also quieter moments, intimate scenes between the bride and Frank, and they really hit emotionally. And visually, there are sequences that are just absolutely breathtaking. Some fun trivia notes. Christian Bale's prosthetics took up to 6 hours to apply, compared to Buckley's, who only took 90 minutes. Following feedback from negative test screenings, Maggie Gyllenhaal cut several scenes from the movie, mostly violent ones. but also one featuring Frank licking the black vomit off the bride's neck. The film score was composed by Hilda Guðnadóttir, replacing Johnny Greenwood. The Icelandic musician had previously composed scores for Tar, Joker, and Women Talking, whereas Johnny Greenwood, of course, is a guitarist for Radiohead. The film includes homages to both Metropolis and Young Frankenstein. Maggie Gyllenhaal previously directed Jessie Buckley in The Lost Daughter in 2021, which of course was Gyllenhaal's feature film directorial debut. Buckley's performance in the film earned the actress her first ever Academy Award nomination. This marks Christian Bale's first movie appearance in 4 years, since The Pale Blue Eye in 2022. Christian Bale and director Maggie Gyllenhaal previously co-starred in The Dark Knight in 2008. In the film, Ida has black ink-like smudge or stain on her face, described as a permanent stain from the black toxic substance used to resurrect her. Director Maggie Gyllenhaal explained it symbolizes the character Ida breaking her silence and reclaiming her voice, as she was previously so silenced. Now, unfortunately, we have to talk about the box office. Despite its ambition and talent, The Bride was a commercial failure. In fact, it was a box office bomb. It grossed $23.7 million worldwide against a budget of $90 million. Opening weekend numbers were underwhelming and the film dropped sharply in its second week. So why did it fail? Well, a few key reasons were probably Frankenstein fatigue, coming shortly, of course, after Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein released at the end of 2025, starring, of course, Oscar-nominated Jacob Elordi. The film also had a niche appeal. Even though marketed as a mainstream film, I in many ways don't feel that this is a real commercial type of film. I think a lot of viewers would have negatively reviewed it because it is just too auteur, too abstract and too artistic for your generalized moviegoer who just wants to sit back and have fun. And as I said, mixed reviews, because the word of mouth didn't help it. Its feminist slant, sometimes sort of preachiness, and as I said, maybe trying to be too clever and almost too creative, when at the end of the day it is supposed to be just box office fun. Ultimately, this film did not connect with the wider audience. And what damage this would do to Gyllenhaal's career, well, time will only tell. Maybe this is a sign that Gyllenhaal needs to stick to her lane with regards to directing more artistic endeavors, rather than big-budget commercial features. So where do I land? I think The Bride is a good film. No, it's not perfect, and definitely not for everyone, but it's definitely worth a watch. It's bold, it's creative, and it's beautifully made. Gyllenhaal put a lot of time and effort into it. The one gripe I have with her directing is maybe the messaging. It just pushes the agendas of feminism maybe a little bit too strongly for what its subject matter is. Jessie Buckley once again is absolutely superb here in the dual roles of Mary Shelley and the Bride, and Christian Bale returns to form here with an excellent performance, something I never would have expected him to pull off. But then again, this is a versatile actor that can pretty much do anything. And for me, really it is the two leads that make this film so entertaining and watchable. It's bold, it's creative, and it's beautifully made. And even though it doesn't fully come together, it's still a film that I mostly enjoyed. The Bride gets an 8.5 out of 10. If you enjoy artistic cinema, strong performances, and unique storytelling, then this is absolutely worth your time. But if you're looking for something a bit more traditional, this might not be the type of film for you. So what did you think of The Bride? Please let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe.